and welcome to this continuous discovery demo on the UiPath Automation Suite. My name is Christian Esmeyer, but I will actually play a couple of different roles today to guide you through this continuous discovery demo. So let's get started. I will start this journey with Benjamin, a procurement leader and owner of the Procure-to-Pay process in his organization that is already using UiPath Automation Cloud. His center of excellence has already automated the low-hanging fruit in the financial department. The early automations proved very successfully, so our C-level has started to take notice and wants to scale up the automation to other business units. We've identified the procurement as an ideal candidate as our purchase-to-pay process is a core process in our organization, with a huge bearing on supplier relationships, cash flow and customer satisfaction. And this is just not the external customers and supplier we're thinking about. We're also hearing from my team that they are handling more exception cases on a daily basis and having seen a general increase in purchase transactions. Many are feeling overworked, and as a people manager, I have the responsibility to do something about this. I'm ready to deep dive and identify what's causing these increased purchases transactions with the help of process mining. When I open my organization's automation cloud, I have access to Orchestrator, Actions, Automation Hub, and more UiPath products and services. One of which is of course process mining, task mining, and Automation Hub that we will go more detail into today. We have created an app for our purchase-to-pay process, which gives me quick insight into my process metrics like how many purchase orders we've processed, late delivery, cycle times, and maverick buying. My center of excellence has already loaded up the data with already about 410 rows of data with 40,000 purchase orders in place. And as we scale process mining in Procure-to-Pay, my app can handle more than 1 billion rows of data without any problem. Recently, due to market changes and bounce back from COVID, there has been a push from executives to improve to streamline the Procure-to-Pay process. It's important that we maintain relationships with our supplier as well as increase efficiency for our employees. Let's first look at Q2 in the year 2020. We can see that the KPIs from the previous quarter, the number of purchase order items we process has increased, as well as the number of different ways the process is executed. This in turn has increased the average throughput time. It makes sense that as users come back to the office, the request increases. However, as a procurement manager, I want to ensure our process stayed as standard and compliant as possible. I have a suspicion that maverick buying may be the cause of the uptake of purchase transactions. Maverick buying is a phenomenon where people in an organization buy goods or materials without following required procurement procedures. This could mean that my organization is potentially spending money inappropriately and even breaching supplier contracts. It also means that my team is constantly putting out fires, chasing transactions or suppliers rather than planning to build value for the company. My suspicion is correct. I do have a rather large maverick buying value of around 200k with 29% of my purchase order items marked with having some type of these violations. Again, these KPIs have been trending upwards, so it's something I'd like to mitigate as soon as possible. In this purchase-to-pay application, we've applied out-of-the-box tags to determine whether something is considered maverick buying. Maverick buying has certain process characteristics, for example, goods delivered without PO approval, invoice received without PO approval, or unreasonable quick good delivered. The tags help me to see that goods received without and before PO approval happens most often, so I'm going to prioritize this case first. I also want to understand the business impact of these cases, so I'll switch to the view to see the value of these cases. The value of goods delivered without a PO approval amount to 96k, which is far too risky for our procurement process and accounts for almost 50% of our total maverick buying challenges. As I scan through the different activities in the process graph, I can see and confirm that there is no approval step for the selected purchase orders. An optimal purchase-to-pay process always has an approval step. This impacts the large proportion of our purchase orders, so I want to dive even deeper into why and where this is happening. Now that I'm filtering for goods received without PO approval and goods received before PO, I can start understanding why these maverick buying actions are taking place. Root cause analysis is another way for me to visualize the process, giving me a better understanding of what causes or influences maverick buying behavior below. In this scenario, what's particularly interesting to me is the purchase organization. Perhaps a specific organization is the main cause of maverick buying behavior. I can see all my purchase organizations with the percentage reflecting their involvement in maverick buying. Those with a negative percentage have less involvement and those with a positive have more. As I receive my purchase organization, I see that LSP Inc. has the highest percentage and is therefore a possibility root cause. To double click into this scenario, I will focus only on LSP Inc. To investigate further, let's look at a new layer. I'll add purchase order creator to find out who is processing these purchase orders. What I see here is that there is one user who has a higher percentage of influence, meaning they are top contributors to maverick buying with LSP organization. However, the other three have negative impact, which means that they are more compliant and less likely to be influenced in maverick buying cases. What is now the difference between these users? What are the top performers doing different that the lower performers do? To get a better understanding of how these users perform their process, we can leverage UiPath task mining to gather more click-through of the activities they're performing on their desktop. By selecting the purchase order creator upfront in this process graph, I will be ready to submit my case to Automation Hub. All the information attached to this process, including the users, the KPIs, etc., are submitted to Automation Hub so the Center of Excellence can make a good priority when to start which kind of task mining interview. Once the request with all the data has been submitted, the Center of Excellence can pick this up in the Automation Hub environment. In Automation Hub, we can manage our automation pipeline. All new ideas are being subjected here, and the Center of Excellence can prioritize ideas based on all kind of data that's submitted related to the case. This can be done by crowdsourcing, the task mining, or by process mining. We can add documentation, but from here we can also start, for instance, a task mining recording to really document what people are doing on their desktops and look at the pattern that other people are sharing. Since the process is very known by the user, we choose assisted task mining so the user can start a recording once they execute the process and stop when they are finished. This gives a more cleaner view of what's being executed on the desktop level. If we want to do this on a longer period of time and we don't know exactly what the process is, we can use the unassisted task mining version as well, which will do a recording silently in the background. The invite has been sent and the user has accepted the offer to record their tasks on their level. Once accepted, a small recorder is deployed on the desktop, which captures all mouse clips and activities that the user are performing in their process. When the user hits starts, the recorder will be on the right hand side of the screen, recording everything you're doing during this process. That means logging into SAP and really creating the purchase order for this particular case. Once I'm finished executing all my tasks, I hit the end on the recorder, which will send all the information to assisted task mining. When we now fast forward a couple of weeks, I can see here now all traces from all the individual users that I captured. I can now easily scroll to all the different traces of the users, looking at all the screenshots where all the PII data is actually masked by the system automatically. As an analyst, I can now annotate the images or the text associated with these tasks. This will make it super clear for what I'm doing and will help other people make sense of this process. Now that I understand all the different activities and traces from the different users, I would love to have a holistic view of all the steps that were taken in this process. Therefore, I can actually merge the different traces from the users together by auto-merging all the traces in one holistic view. You can imagine how much time you save by doing this automatically. You can see here that we have 3 different users extracting purchase order information. They log into SAP and then follow different decisions based on a certain condition where they enter or reflect on certain data. This is going to be perfect for my COE because I have an automated workflow ready to go into Studio. Or I can create a PDD document in Word that people can share and annotate if they want. To close this off, task mining and process mining really help me to understand where maverick buying is actually really happening, but also help me to qualify the total impacted value. This will help me to make a better business case and to fix secure executive buy-in for the improvement of this process. I can now apply a holistic solution involving automation and general process improvements. Benjamin's colleague in the automation COE, Sarah, is also leveraging process mining to surface automation opportunity across the organization. She's working closely with Benjamin to discover and understand where automation can have the greatest impact on their purchase-to-pay process. Process mining is here helping to reduce the silos that previously existed between the automation team and the process owners by providing them with a single source of truth regarding the purchase-to-pay process. Let's now switch heads to Sarah, as she uses process mining to uncover and qualify automation potentials. As a member of my organization, my goal is to work with process SMEs to expand automation across the organization. So I spend a lot of time in the automation potential dashboard of process mining. I've been contacted with Benjamin and I understand there is a maverick buying problem that needs to be addressed. To assist with this initiative, I see automation opportunities here to automate the PO creation process. A robot could really help to ensure the approval followed after this important step and is never skipped. This automation will further reduce the load of my team and improve productivity. With the new automation recommendation dashboard, I can now simulate potential automation rates, showing me how much time and cost I could potentially save. With create purchase order being 0% automated, it could potentially be a high potential for automation. To get a better idea of the potential, let's configure an automation simulation here. By answering 3 simple questions about the process and its potential documents, I can simulate an automation rate based on the formula generated for years of using automation experience. As a process expert, I can say that for our document, it's the purchase order process. About 80% have a digital data input, where more than 80% is structured, and there are 2 to 5 different ways to complete the process. Once entered, it looks like there actually could be an automation rate by 78%. Now that I understand the ideal potential, I can also submit this idea to Automation Hub, our centralized repository to track all my automation process improvements, including the ideas that we have seen with UiPath task mining, but also allows crowdsourcing to add new ideas. I simply submit the automation idea to Automation Hub, where my organization's RPA team can assess the ROI and understand the impact in the context of other automations and the ideas that come through. Let's fast forward for some time. The RPA team went live with the automation that we suggested, and my team has reported less transactions and more time to focus on strategic procurement. As a result, my employees are much happier and we are able to build a better relationship with our key suppliers and reducing the impact of maverick buying further down the supply chain, all the way to our customers. Moving on to Q3 2020, I want to see if my process has improved. The maverick buying rate has decreased to 24% and my maverick buying value also dropped to 30K. This is a great improvement over a short period of time, thanks to the effort made by retraining and automation. As we continue to identify anomalies and process improvement ideas, we can leverage the compare feature to understand differences that occur between periods of time, users, suppliers, etc. The flexibility is there to create the fine-tune for your scenario. For example, to ensure that our problematic purchase order creator stays compliant, we can add a filter to both scenarios to filter on and sell mana. The user actions in Q3 2020 are represented in orange. Q2 is represented in pink, and the blue activities are the shared activities for both time and period. In the KPI header you can see the impact of maverick buying for this user, and it has dropped to $0 and percentage. Further confirming that the training and automation efficiency for this employee really helped. With process mining, task mining and Automation Hub, we were able to get full visibility and understanding of the purchase-to-pay process. I can now identify root causes and anomalies and violations with my process and evaluate automation opportunities. On top of that, my process will evolve. More data will be brought into the system and I will continue to monitor my improvements to understand the changes and the impact it has on my business. Thank you for watching.